first of all, I would like to thank Nordregio and all the team for the work during all these 4 years, what we have been doing, and especially our secretary, Jukka Teräs. So this has been always a joy to join our working group and so on. But then coming to this question, so Hordur was talking about the Nordic bioeconomy panel and saying what the tasks you will have, and then one of those things you were talking about collecting our best cases. I hope you will find our 50 Shades of Green green book, which has been published this year and which already has 50 cases from a Nordic region. So hope you have use of that. And then Eero Mikkola, you were talking about the blue bioeconomy. 12% of the Finnish GDP is coming from bioeconomy in general, but then blue bioeconomy is certainly just at the moment smaller part of that. And then Isa-Maria was talking about public procurement. I'll come back to the question, but of course, when talking about public procurement, so it is not only like now talking about buying. It's a very good example, but these machines using bio-based oils and so on. So that is certainly fine. But then all those substance-based. So how do you buy bio-based substances, and what can be done on that side? Then, of course, it's very nice that once in the lifetime, Sweden can utilize something what we have been doing in Finland. So, very nice that way. But to the question, so my main question here, or what I was thinking now, is about value creation. And then not only about value creation, but also value sharing. When we are talking about bioeconomy, so then we are always talking about somebody taking care of the biomass and then transporting it, and then different organizations utilizing. And so there is value creation is normally counted only or is counted when you have the final products. I'm coming from the private sector where I am back already today, so this is why my approach is coming from these practical reasons. So along those chains, along the value chain, so you have to be able to share the value for each operator there, and so the value created, it has to be shared. And then of course, in each phase, there are also costs. Costs are created, and of course, then the cost have to be then shared also, so that each of these operators are able to stay and then make possible to have this bio-based economy also growing. So my main question is that how does each of you, so how do you assist to have this kind of substantial value creation? How can you in your work assist in substantial value creation, especially in the substantial value share?
Thank you, Kaiso. And before we let Erkan start for this question, but let's say you had a replica for the cases, so you can start.
Yeah, just briefly, because I only had 10 minutes. I really want to compliment you guys on the green growth cases, the 50 cases, excellent cases, and actually some of them are in are amongst our 25 excellent cases. But what we did, we actually decided to put up a structure. We don't really grade the cases. We don't want to have one better than another case, but we kind of put a system together where we first look at the cases in terms of how sustainable they are in using natural resources. That's the first thing. And then the technology innovations that are involved, the environmental benefits, and then the social societal and social benefits, and then also business innovation. So those are 5 categories that we kind of selected the cases from. So I think it's going to complement your book very, very nicely. So that's just a comment.
Thank you. And Eero, you can
Okay.
continue.
Thank you.
1 minute to think about.
Okay, yes, I had it's a difficult question, but as Ger said, I'm also the green expert. I'm a forester, and I'm a forest owner, and somehow I feel that there's a big gap between this current situation that we are setting up, establishing the pulp mills. We don't call them as a pulp mill; they are biorefineries and so on. And we are aiming some kind of high value products. And when I can see now that this global trends, the urbanization, people are moving to cities, I can see. I feel that it's big gap between what we are currently doing and what we should to aim and get in. I'm not sure whether I responded to your response. I think we have not achieved yet this kind of status. Yes.
Let's continue the round.
Well, if the agenda is not value creation enough, then I guess we have to add some more. But I think from a governmental perspective, at least, I mean, managing the distribution of profits or costs, maybe for a governmental perspective, comes down to managing risks in the system of realizing the bioeconomy in some matter. And I think the way Sweden has done it up until now is that not only doing the agenda, but then, as I said, also then adding on other initiatives, like the innovation partnership programs, which are aiming at getting sort of the broad view of how we should steer public financing, where sort of they do the most bang for the buck. So I think that's sort of complementary things that you could do from a governmental perspective. That's how we see it, at least.
And the round continues. Lisa Maria.
Yes. Well, from my point of view, of course, it's a lot about communicating between procurers and suppliers. Procurers have a really big thirst for information about what the value chain actually looks like and where the value is added. But as I said also, any new innovation, any new alternative to what is being bought today also needs to bring value, added value to the procuring entity. But so these things need just to be opened up. Communication.
Yes, I mean, this is a very important question. It has to be a profitable, industry has to be profitable. And we want to be sustainable and we want to be profitable at the same time. So, you know, one way we as a panel, we can influence the policymakers that then establish the programs that make that happen. And in my daily job, this is what we do. We work with companies, we work with innovators, we work with entrepreneurs, and realizing, developing new products and processes, and then eventually, hopefully, making some money. But there's always going to be a huge risk involved. And one thing, we're going to have really great cases, but we have to also remember we have a lot of failures that we need to learn from in the bioeconomy. So we can't just think about the successes, but also the failures to learn from.
Well, thank you. Sorry, guys. I was thinking, because heard what you said is that of course not all bioeconomy is sustainable bioeconomy, and not all bioeconomy is what we want or perceive as the future of the bioeconomy. I think it's important to keep in mind. There were a couple of things I thought when you were talking, and I was pacing around there out by the window. One that you mentioned, about the different understandings of the blue bioeconomy. And I think here's one of the values of Nordic cooperation, because for me it's always, the bioeconomy has, amongst other things, always been about, pushing boundaries, going outside of the comfort zone. And this is one of the methods that Nordic cooperation can help the countries to think outside of the comfort zone, think in new things. And I think, Per, what you were then talking about, and Isa and Hörður, is this value of looking towards the experiences of the other Nordic countries, and how you can take this push outside of the comfort zone and these common lessons and create this Nordic added value. But that was not my question to the panel. It relates to me and Jukka. You see, Jukka is supporting the Finnish forest industry. I'm in the digital space. And I'm thinking back to your figure of the circles, where digitalization inevitably has to be thought somehow into the development of the bioeconomy. Can you think about it a little bit? I'm not expecting the final answer, but what are your thoughts about how can we work together with the bioeconomy and the digital economy?
I think I will give the floor first to Kaisu because you have
Yes.
intensively for issues. So
Exactly.
what's your first reaction? Is it a good question?
It certainly is a good question, but especially now when we are talking about bioeconomy, whether it's blue or green or red or whatever color, so we have to remember that we are talking about biological issues and material, and they just don't flow in electric pipes or in. So you have to have transportation, and you have to have this and that, and so for bioeconomy, so of course the digitalization is how you are able to get the things to the correct places. So certainly it helps in all of that, and in sales and markets. But what is new then there? That is the main question. What is the new thing in digitalization for bioeconomy compared to what has been done by now? Of course, smaller enterprises can utilize also those things which a long time ago were only for available for large companies. But then we have the biomasses and we have the bioproducts, and that's somehow what we have to work with.
Yes, as I said in our first comments, that people are moving to cities and our natural resources are out of cities. I believe that a lot of we can do in terms of application and interfaces, how to utilize, how to connect people, how to connect the natural resources and so on. I think we are just at the beginning on that.
And I think you're right. I don't think there's different universes when we talk about the bioeconomy or the digital economy in any way. I think they're very closely interlinked. And I think a very good and concrete example of this is in Finland you managed to get some foreign investments, some Chinese money into biorefineries into Finland, which is very interesting. Or I don't know the latest development, but at least they state that the reason for that they are doing that is that in Finland there's a well-working Finnish wood market, which is basically digital. So if you manage to get those kind of investments into Finland, I think that's sort of enabled by the digital market that you have in terms of the wood market, the puumarkkinat, which we do not have in Sweden any sort of similar systems. So I think they are interlinking with each other, and I think if bioeconomy is about substituting away from fossil-based raw materials, I think that sort of digital could help us make it more efficient in many systems.
Before Isa-Maria continues, I can just confirm that it's getting even worse. Last week, yet another Chinese announced that they will enter the Finnish market with forest industry.
So we pity you.
You need to get the agenda ready. So then, yeah. Very difficult question. At least looking at it from kind of a public authority point of view, I think digitalization is not an objective in itself. It's a means to achieve more efficiently some other objectives, and I think also that in this case it's something which enables information to be available on where different kinds of, as you said, Eero, where different kinds of materials are at, how you can more easily access them and so on. I won't go into the question of digitalization and public procurement because that's kind of in its cradle still.
I'm going to take it very broad. I mean, digitization means so many different things. So just a few examples. I mean, we're now in Iceland. We're actually using virtual reality to really teach people about the bioeconomy. So that's one example. We're going to the schools. We're having the kids put on these goggles so they can actually experience the bioeconomy, going to a farm, going to a fish processing plant, So that's one way you can use it as a tool to really communicate to people and policymakers what we're all about. Another thing is the kitchen of the future. I don't know how much you know about that. We're going to be completely connected to our home devices in the future. The fridge will know when your food is getting spoiled, so you can minimize food wastage. It will send a signal to you when you're in the store to buy more milk or to buy this and that, to optimize your purchases. So that's another way we can use digitization, it's a tough word, for the bioeconomy. And food printing is another thing we're working on, which is also going to be connected to us, using underutilized raw materials, using raw materials at home to actually create food in the home. And then lastly, one experience which might relate actually to your what you're doing is we're setting up now an online virtual marketplace where people can post the biomasses they have available, so other industries can actually can get those biomasses and use them. So there are tremendous opportunities, I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Horder. And I think it's high time to open the floor, open this panel to the floor. And I will give the first comment to Karen. You was first.
Thank you. I'm also from Nordregio. I have the pleasure of being a colleague of Jukka. It's nice to be here. I have a question sort of to you all in general, following up on Kajsa, because when we moved from this we're moving from the fossil economy where resources are sort of concentrated in few spaces, to this bioeconomy where it's spread out and distributed all around and giving opportunities for rural areas. But it's also impacting on the ownership. Who has the right to the forest? Who has the right to the wood? Who is lucky to be able to take the advantage and the benefits? And I sort of lack that a bit when you share all your nice bioeconomy strategies that talks about changed institutions, changed subsidies, support for considering exactly what Hans Koppel talked about, the democratic energy market and the public consensus, because that's the success of the German Energiewende is because it has a lot of public support. The citizens out there.
Who wants to comment? Brave. Who's the bravest?
Yes.
Swedes are brave.
I think that the setup and sort of how the different governments will manage this in terms of risk-reward will be different in different countries depending on how sort of the foundation for that nation's bioeconomy will look like. So I think that what might be a success in Germany could work somewhere else, but it might not work on another market. So I think there will be sort of different setups and different success stories depending on where you are.
Technical brave. We will wish all the best for Horder. You have to leave for the and we take a couple of more questions, but it's okay if you. It's not a question. Yeah.
Thank you, really.
He's not making a protest, I guess.
You know, he got away because he had the best answer to the digitalization question. So.
Yes. Oh, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ivar Pettersen from the Norwegian Institute of Bioeconomy Research. For 3 points. First, the digitalization will, of course, have a grand impact. I have a graph here showing that the cost of genome sequencing has diminished from about $1 billion per
Okay, I'll be quick. Yes, of course, there's a difference in procurement of innovation, which is quite of one extreme. But pushing the market is also actually making green growth on a more larger scale. It's also making companies more competitive, which is always good. Development of market is always good. And I wouldn't see that as a means of subsidizing merely. But I would say that procuring innovation is a good thing. We need that too, but it's not the only way, and it should not be the only way where public procurement actually can make a change.
Thank you for that. And final comment there, you asked please, and then we stop the first session.
Bioeconomy, we don't discuss mostly in this Nordic region, especially in Finland, about the micro and macro algae, which is the quite big, I think they have quite big contribution to blue bioeconomy. Blue bioeconomy is not only the water quality or fisheries or so on. Of course, they are very important depending on the region, but there is also micro and macro algae, which has a huge potential as a biomass, and not only as a biomass for biodiesel or something else, but a potential as a bioactive compounds, food, feed, and so on. And many other countries out of the Nordic region, they are quite much forward in this area, but unfortunately in Nordic region in the meetings, this is quite much underestimated. So I would like just to give some attention about this.
Thank you for your remark, and I think the last word goes to Eero.
Yes. Thank you for your important comment, and it's this algae is at the Finnish plan, and it's also a Nordic plan. I didn't mention because in Finland it's for the moment it's so minor part of that. I hope that it will increase, but at the Nordic level, this the blue bioeconomy plan, this roadmap, it's in bigger part there. Yes, we have not forgotten that. Thank you very much.
And thank you for the first session. And now or would you guys want to have the last word? It's yours.
Like always. I just would like to remind about Neste, which was the reason why the bioeconomy in Netherlands has been growing so much lately. So they have been doing quite much of work with algae and other of these small bugs in waters. And so let's see what comes out one day from them. But what is the most important anyway in this bioeconomy, like was it you or somebody else who mentioned, it's about sustainability. We are talking about sustainability. It's about the social, it's about the environmental, it's economic sustainability, and without those three together, so we can go home.
Thank you.
That's the national part. Thank you, Kaisu. And now we move on to the regional part, and thank you for the national panelists, and the regional